The big takeaway everybody had was the person that won the game was the person that blocked the door, Hodor style. That is how you win games in Arena. As I'm building lists now, I'm not looking at, oh, how many guys can this guy kill? How many shots can this guy fire? How many attacks does this guy have? I'm looking at the guys and I'm saying, what base size is he? Is it 25 or 32 or even 40? Because that dictates how much he can block. And then I'm also looking at how many hits can he take statistically before he dies, because that's huge. Like a single model, much like in my fifth game, can hold up the entire enemy army. And if that costs you 20 points for a more expensive model that statistically is going to live longer, that is points well spent. Because then the other 80 points of your army can run around the board and score you objectives, while that single chunk of 20 points holds the door. Hello everybody, Glass Half Dead here, and today what I'm going to do is go through my recent trip to Warhammer World and the Kill Team Arena tournament that I played in on Sunday. I'm recording this Monday, so it was literally yesterday, so I've had a little bit of time to think, most of it sleep deprived. First, I'm going to go over my games, my specific games, how I handle them as a Grey Knight player. I'm also going to tell you why I chose to go with Grey Knights. And then I'm going to go over just kind of what I saw while I was there, how Arena played, kind of at the top tier of tournament gameplay, what I saw. Oh, I also have a list of all the winners, if you haven't already seen that. There were 28 players in total, and I have them all ordered out so we can see who's at the top tables, who's at the bottom, any missing factions, why they might be missing, etc. Okay, and please remember, if you like the video, drop a like, subscribe, leave a comment, really helps. If you don't like the video, please do leave a downvote, a thumbs down on another video. Not this one, that won't really help anything. Okay, so moving on to my games. It's Glass Half Dead from the future, aka the end of the video. I'm jumping in quickly here, right after I've done my intro, right before I get into the meat of the hour and a half long video of literally just me rambling that I'm about to give you. Just to say, if any of you guys that are watching this actually attended this event, it would be really cool if you could drop your list, your rosters, in the comments below. I know that everybody is only watching this video to see what the current meta is, what people are playing. They're not so much here for my takeaways. They're here to see what's happening in the wider sense. So, if you could help facilitate that, that would be really awesome. Not for me, but for everybody else that wants to come. And they can even use the comments here, hopefully, as a bit of a resource. That would just be really cool. I'm going to drop mine in the comments below. But mine was 5 models, so it was a little bit underwhelming, much like everything else in my life. Anyway, I'm going to cut here, get back to the main flow. Have a good one. Right, game 1 was against Chris, a member of the channel, in the same way that we are all members of the channel, in a kind of godlike way. No, so he watched the channel, so it was great to play a viewer for the first time. Unfortunately, I'm terrible at taking pictures, so there are none of the actual games. It's just going to be me. Feel free to move this to another screen. I'm just going to be talking. There's not really anything on screen. What's on screen now is mainly for me to remind myself what the hell I was doing. So a little quick note about the format. There were 5 games, and they were an hour long each. Along with that, minor note, an hour long is quite tight. However, our 5-minute muster was built into the hour long game time. I did manage to finish all of my games, so I guess if you look at it from that perspective, it worked, but they were tight. I think one of them I did get down to 2 minutes. I think that might have been the first game, actually. So, just warming up, revving into it. But It was tight. I discussed that with a lot of the people there, and we all kind of agreed an hour and 15 would have been a bit better. But including muster and setup into the hour, tight games. I know that Elliot, um, the the guy that played the Adepticon, who came to this, agreed. I think one of his games only went to turn 3, so an hour was a little bit short. Okay, so my very first game was against Chris, viewer of the channel. He was playing Imperial Guard, or Astra Militarum, Mistra blah blah blah, Astra Militarum. I'm not going to edit that out. I can't be bothered. So I won. Is the first thing to take away from that. We were playing the mission where there's a central room, but you deploy away from that room, so you can't open the door straight away. So I did a veteran move to then rush out, open the door, which you could just manage with a 6-inch move. Oh yes, okay, so I picked Domination, Proximity Alert, and Engage on all fronts. Now, all three of these, in theory, assuming that Chris decided to engage me in the central room, I could have got some crazy scores. So, so obviously with Domination and Engage on all fronts, you can score them both just by having 4 models all right around the very center of the board. So that was my plan. That was my plan going into it. Because trying to spread out on that map, I think, is quite difficult because there's a lot of corridors where you can't get crossing lines of sight. So the plan was to just go straight into the middle and just sit there, and hopefully he was going to join me in the middle, and so I'd be getting proximity alerts as well. In theory, it was a great idea. Unfortunately, it didn't work that way at all. So Chris managed to move up a flamer of his right up to the door that I needed to get through, and he blocked me off from entering that central objective for I think 2 turns, 2 turns maybe, which actually was obviously in the grand scheme of things I still won, but yeah, that could have gone really badly. Luckily, obviously, Grey Knights, I had psychic powers, so I just cybolted him. He then charged me with his. He had an Imperial Guard guy with a Scion with a Power Fist and Plasma Pistol, but I cybolted that guy as well because Grey Knights, right? Because Grey Knights. Anyway, that allowed me to finally get into the central objective. But I did manage to score proximity alert off of not the flamer, but off of the guy with the power fist. So it wasn't a total loss, but that was definitely a much lower scoring game than anything else I played. In fact, if we look at the score sheet here, we see I won, but my VP scored was only 8. That was a super low scoring game. So with that in mind, I must have only been on the center of the board for the final turn, maybe 2 final turns. Turns 3 and 4, not just 4. But yeah, really low scoring game. Just because it was so low scoring, I'm gonna say he got 5 VP. Like because it was so low scoring, there wasn't actually much of a difference in the score. But I did win. He put up a good showing. Why did I win? I can't really say. He did have plasma, but his plasma fluffed. I must have made my saves. He was always shooting me obscured. I don't think he ever got a clear shot. So obviously that helps a lot. And when you're just a guardsman, you're hitting on 4s, then suddenly it's 5s. It's not very reliable. Yeah, I don't think he killed any of my guys. He might have killed my incinerator, which will be a theme of the day, by the way. So I'm going to say it now. My incinerator, for anyone that doesn't know, the Grey Knight Gunner incinerator, strength 6, AP -1, damage 1 weapon. I take it in arena purely for the Overwatch, right? Because that's a scary thing to Overwatch. However, I'm going to spoil every game for you right now when it comes to the incinerator. There was only one game where I overwatched more than one. Every Overwatch, and I did get to Overwatch every game. Every single Overwatch, apart from one, I rolled a 1 on the number of shots fired. I don't think my incinerator killed a single model. Except one time I got 3 on the Overwatch, but he still lived and made it in. And then another time I did get to fire not in Overwatch, which is a bit of a shocker. And I think I rolled 5 and I did get a kill. But if you think about 5 games and I made 1 kill, yeah. I mean, obviously that's the issue with variants with Grey Knights. That incinerator could have been a beast. I have seen my opponents play Grey Knights with incinerators and destroy everything that goes into them. I did not. Anyway, there you go. What can you do? The general plan there, by the way, with the veteran move, I did, in fact, veteran move at the start of every round. I'm going to cover general things at the end. I'm going over specific games at the moment, but veteran move at the start of every round, and then advance my incinerator up as far as I can, hoping to block a door if possible. You know, there are some maps where you can, some where you can't, but basically my incinerator always wanted to go as far as he possibly could. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, I won against Chris. It was a good game. I think we both enjoyed it. Yes. Good. Okay. Game 2 was John with the Tyranids there. He had a lovely painted army. They were blue. I think they might have been purple. They could have been violet, pink, maybe red. Color blindness is an issue. I don't know. They had paint on them. I'll give them that. There you go. Okay, so this was a tough one. So if I were a smart man, I would know what game I played, but I didn't write that down apparently. So this is a map that I know quite well because I actually struggle on it quite a lot. So this is the one where you can choose to take the sixth possible secondary objective. The bonus objective for the mission is if you hold a single objective for every game round, then at the end of the match you can score 3 VP. It's a great one to take because it's almost guaranteed. Like, yeah, it's hard to lose that one. It's a reliable 3 VP. Whereas anything else you take, you know, the ones I've taken here, attrition, domination, oh, data recovery is the one I took. Attrition or domination. If you're, you know, you're not guaranteed to get them. So anyway, I took attrition, domination, data recovery. I lost, despite getting 1 VP more than my last game. I lost pretty hard. So this was a cool list to face, I've got to say, and it was probably, well, no, actually, you know, I wasn't that scared of the list. Like, yeah, I wasn't that scared of it. So what it was one Tyranid warrior with a venom cannon, and then 2 lictors, and then the rest Hormigans. I believe it was 6 Hormigans, but it's however many you can actually fit in that list. He took the ones where you spread out, have to touch each of the corners. Obviously, he also took data recovery because why wouldn't you? And he also took domination, I believe, possibly. The way this worked was, I believe, again, he managed to kill my... Oh, yes. So I managed to fire with my incinerator. And I actually scored domination, I think, turn 1. And then so this was where my incinerator beautifully rolled a 1. It wasn't on Overwatch, it was just my attack. So I didn't do anything. Which was story of my life. His venom cannon then killed my incinerator. Great stuff. All these flesh wounded it. No, my incinerator lived. I tell a lie. Anyway, to move along, he managed to get a lictor up to one of my objectives. So he was then getting 3 from the board every turn because he not only held 1 and held 2, but because he contested one of my objectives, he held more than me as well. He was absolutely dominating, I've got to be honest. I did manage to kill his warrior in close combat, which is why I wasn't that scared of his list, actually. Yeah, like, if anyone is going to be taking out a big Tyrannid list, bug list, it kind of should be Grey Knights. All of my close combat weapons are D3. Like, yeah, I wasn't that scared. I was scared of Tyranids in general because there's been so much chat recently about, ever since LVO, about how scary they are. But I was like, yeah, okay, two good hits and I've killed a lictor. Two good hits and I've killed a warrior, etc. Yeah. Anyway, he absolutely dominated me. Um, I would say the big disappointment of this round was luck of the dice. I had two of my Grey Knights readied, about to shoot his lictor, who he had moved in to contest my objective, but was still far enough away from one of my guys that he wasn't in combat. So I had two guys readied, and I missed all 8 shots. So that was super. That was super. And then I had another guy shoot at another model, not the same lictor, either another lictor or the warrior. I can't remember. And again missed all 4 shots there. So 12 shots missed in a round is pretty harsh. It was the kind of thing where even your opponent says, "Oh, mate, the dice." Ugh. And it's like, yes, mate, the dice. I agree. Um, don't get me wrong. I don't think that would have actually changed the outcome. I'm pretty sure he was going to win anyway, but it would have been significantly closer. Anyway, good game. I was pretty much dismantled. There you go. Right. Jack with the Death Watch. So I, yeah, good game against Jack. I actually gave Jack one of my at the end of the game. Obviously, if you've ever been to a tournament before, you'll know that at the end of the game you give a favourite game vote. I had to give it to him because of what happened in this game. So I was against Deathwatch. He had a frag cannon, an Infernus heavy bolter, a Reaver Sergeant, and an Intercessor Sergeant with comms. And he had, I'm going to say, a leader with power sword, but don't quote me on that. Yeah, so we both had domination. I don't know what else he had. We both had activate engines actually. Yeah. So this was another one where I'm going to shock you here with this knowledge bomb. So he had his Reaver Sergeant at the back of the board doing activate engines. I noticed that I can get my incinerator up to just at the 8-inch, at the absolute limit of that 8 inches, run up there, take a shot, and who knows, maybe take him off of that, denying him an activate engines for a turn. Oh, quick note, he used his veteran move not to advance to the middle of the board like I did, but to get onto the rear objective before the first turn begins. Oh, sorry, before the first movement phase begins, meaning that he was able to score activate engines on the very first turn. That's a really cool idea, as obviously it frees you up for further turns. And I think if I were to do that again, if that might be the way to use veteran on this map. If I wasn't using an elite kill team and I wasn't so concerned about opening doors, I think that's a really strong move. So good job, Jack. Right. So anyway, so I moved my incinerator up to take out his Reaver in the backfield, who's activating the engines at the time. He then bamboozles me with my terrible rules knowledge by activating engines with another model, not the one at the back, because I always activate engines with the guy at the back because why not? Right? He's there, he's not doing anything. You kind of need your other models. Obviously, this turn, he felt that he needed his model at the back, the Reaver Sergeant there, to shoot my incinerator. So he didn't activate engines with that. He activated engines with another model, I believe the Infernus Heavy Bolter, that was already up on one of the middle objectives, which meant he was free to shoot me, which I had completely blanked was a thing that could happen at all. Now, don't get me wrong, I'd have gone for the charge anyway. Not the charge, the advance, and then shoot. I'd have gone for that anyway because it was a really good, potentially could have wrecked his day. So, I advance up. I'm still concealed. I'm still obscured. So, I position myself well. Take a shot. Roll a 1 on the incinerator, don't I? And I don't do anything to him. Super. I was getting really annoyed with my incinerator by the end of the day. I'm just going to say it. If I were to run GK again, I'd just take another falchion. Maybe a hammer, but probably a falchion. Just a fifth falchion. Well, I suppose, or a psi cannon, but probably a falchion. Anyway, it's all about the close combat. So there you go. He then killed me. He killed my incinerator after I fluffed the roll. He killed my incinerator with a quick bang, bang, bang. So that was great. Yeah, that's the incinerator for you. And I think that was pretty emblematic of the game in general. Oh my god, it's been 20 minutes. This is going to be such a long video. It's just me talking. This is like me interviewing myself. What a podcast. Okay. However, so things were looking bleak. Things were looking bleak. I lost my first model. He had moved his frag cannon up to be able to block a door if I wanted to open it. And had 2 models on domination, whereas I only had 1. So he was going to be slowly chipping me away. Obviously, we were equal on objectives. Then I did something a bit crazy. I open up the door in the middle there to attempt to, well, I don't know, just to think about things, with against his Infernus Heavy Bolter. I didn't want to charge it. I've died to flamers a lot. Despite the uselessness of my incinerator, I have died to flamers a lot. So I was opening it. My intention being to psychic him, and then hopefully in the next movement phase get onto the objective, right? That makes sense. Okay, so I opened the door. I'm gonna say he did try to deny it, but failed. So I opened the door, and then psychic him, and rolled a double 6. And okay, before I continue with this story, allow me to preface it by saying we're not quite sure how it would have played out if what happened next didn't happen. But it would have been significantly closer. It would have been a really tight game. As it is, I won the game with a solid 16 VP, which is pretty dominating. However, we got the rules wrong. So I had never exploded. It's not actually exploding, is it? I had never perilled of the warp before. And being a lazy dude, I asked the judges over and said, can you just explain to me how I perils? Because I didn't want to get it wrong, because I know that perils is very important. The way it is supposed to work is you roll your psychic test, you roll double 6. What this does, because on an 11 or a 12, you do an explosive. You basically your smite becomes a D3 smite. It's a Cybolt, not a smite. Your Cybolt, which normally is 1 mortal wound, becomes D3 mortal wounds. However, if you die, oh no. So okay. So first off, the Psyker takes a mortal wound. That's the first thing you do. If the Psyker survives, the power goes off, no problem. You do your D3 mortal wounds to the enemy, which of course isn't a big deal because against most models in Kill Team, they only have 1 wound, so you can basically skip rolling the D3 and just go straight to the injury roll. However, against Primaris, that can be a big thing. So you roll your injury roll for your Psyker, the guy that's taking the test and failed it. If he survives, power goes off, job done. You roll your d3, etc. If your Psyker dies, what you then do is you want to everybody within 3 inches, I believe it's 3 inches, of the Psyker takes d3 mortal wounds. So obviously, if you explode while you are inside, like in your own lines, that's terrible. Now I had a command point. I could have re-rolled this 6. That's why I called the judges over, because the fact that I exploded meant that I was going to d3 wounds myself, obviously, but then also his Infernus Heavy Bolter, and at this point he had moved his Power Sword leader. I'm not sure if it was the Power Sword leader. It was definitely a Primaris, who obviously has 2 wounds, up to within 3 inches of my guy. So I let the 12 go off on the hopes that I kill them both, because that's a solid trade. 1 Grey Knight for a Deathwatch veteran and a Primaris. Anyway, so the judges come over and explain how the rule works, and then I had thought I'd understood them, but my opponent, Jack, cucked himself on this one, unfortunately, and said the opposite of what the judges said. And me, being a timid little flower, said, "Oh, okay, we can do it that way." And so what happened is, yeah, my Psyker lived, and we still did the D3 blast, and I killed both of his guys. That took him off of the objective that he was holding, meaning that I was then scoring 3 per round. 1 for holding 1, 2 for holding a second, or 1 for holding a second, and then 1 for holding more than your opponents. It also meant he didn't have the guys in domination, etc., etc. It snowballed from there. So unfortunately, we played that wrong, and we didn't realise until the end of the game had finished. So I kind of had to give him a favourite player vote on that one. That's the only one I'll reveal. But yes, that was painful. That was painful, and I felt for him. But at the same time, there would have been no way to really figure out, kind of retroactively, what either of us would have done if that hadn't happened. Yeah, again, it would have been really tight, and he might have won. So that wasn't just dice, although obviously you could never plan for rolling a 12 double sixes. But that was rules mishaps. My bad. Okay. Next up, we had Guy. Genestealer Colts. Genestealer Colts Guy. I lost. Yeah. Okay, what can I say about this? I think we were both rolling hot. We were both getting some good rolls, which meant that even if I kind of just wrecked the guy, he then would just, oh, I saved. I saved on like 4 sixes. Tough. It's like, God damn it. So I suspect the only favourite game vote that I didn't get was probably from him, just because it's kind of annoying when you hit all your shots and then you get all your wounds and then the opponent just rolls 10 sixes. It's like, come on, man. So this was actually a very interesting list, though. He had two aberrants, one with a pick, one with a hammer. He also had a heavy stubber. That was it, really. The rest were just acolytes, I think. Those were kind of... Oh, no, sorry. He had a heavy rock drill. Yeah, he went with the drill, which is an interesting choice. I don't much rate the drill myself. But yeah, that's what he did. He went with the drill. And then the rest were just acolytes. Neophytes, sorry. Right. First things first. Oh, so we were back on the mission that has the central room. So theoretically, pretty good for both of us, because we kind of both want to be in close combat. So I move a guy into the middle of the room. I'm just going to say it, my incinerator died. I don't remember him dying, but he did. He did. I don't know who killed him, but he died. Oh, the aberrant, yes. So, God damn. I'm going to tell you the story of the incinerator dying again. So I moved my incinerator up through the middle of the room and had managed to beautifully block off the enemy entrance. He then had an aberrant and the heavy stubber, and I think just a neophyte. I was fully expecting to get charged. He charges me with the aberrant. I roll my Overwatch. I roll a 1. I do nothing to him. God damn it. Okay, so anyway, how did that go? Yeah, the hammer wrecked, as you would expect. I mean, if you get that aberrant into combat, they destroy things. I then managed to kill the hammer aberrant somehow. I can't remember how, but I did. So that was good. Now, because we were both rolling pretty hot, I managed to kill his mining drill first turn with my zealot shooting. Wasn't even charged, just shot, done. Then his second aberrant charged up and killed my leader, I remember. Yes, so the thing with that second aberrant, which I shall recount the tale to you, sirs, is I cybolted him twice. And both times the GT Occults have a tactic where on a 5 up you ignore the mortal wound. He used it both times, he saved both of them. Super annoying. Got to say, super annoying. So like I said, we're rolling hot. He also had a real thing for I think it's caustic spit or caustic acid, spitty acid. I don't know. Oh, where I think it is any model that is can target an enemy model within 1 inch, and on a 4 up you cause a mortal wound. I think he attempted to use it 3 times and it went off the third. I think that sounds about right. Killing my zealot. And also knocking me off of one of my objectives, meaning I was only holding one objective in domination, and that was it. There's not much more to say about that round, unfortunately. It didn't go well for me. That's all I can really say. Yeah. Oh well. Although, as we see, I was killing a lot of specialists, so that's good for me. And then, unfortunately, I forgot to turn over my sheet to take another picture of the final game, so I'm going to do it. I shall recount from memory, and luckily, I can remember exactly what happened. So, this is the mission where there's the central hallway, and if you're stood in that wholly within the hallway, you score a VP. Great. Okay, so this was against orcs. I feel very rude. I wrote the guy's name down on the sheet, but I didn't take the picture. I'm gonna say his name was Chris. No, it was Jeff. Jeff with a J. I remembered it. Lovely guy. And I've got to say, I had to give him my second favourite player vote because, oh, it was painful, guys. Oh, it was painful. This was kind of the opposite of my second game against the Tyranids, where, he felt bad for me and my roles. Ah, man, I felt so bad for Jeff. Jeff with a J. Yeah. Okay, so veteran move. I haven't mentioned it in all of my games, but every game I veteran moved, purely to open the door. So veteran move, crack the door open. I then charge out with my incinerator as per usual. Zoom, zoom, zoom. I actually only rolled a 1 on my advance. Now, from what little I'd learned throughout the day, I had learned that while, you've got to make a big first move. So I actually used my second and final CP there to re-roll my charge roll, and I rolled a 3. That wasn't what I wanted, but it was better than a 1. And actually, it turns out 9 inches is exactly how far you need to be able to get within, I think it's like 2.5 inches, 3 inches of the enemy door, which means that the enemy cannot get past your base without going within an inch of you. So, even though I wasn't actually in the doorway, I was blocking the doorway. He opens the door and he has to charge me. Now, I could tell he was nervous about the charge, which is fair. An incinerator's a scary weapon. I reassured him. I said, Jeff with a J. This is a total lie, by the way. I didn't say this at all. Because that would be really condescending of me, and I'm not that much of a twat in person. I said, Jeff with a J. Just so you know, I have not rolled more than a 1 on Overwatch this entire, like every round, this entire day. So honestly, don't be scared to charge. And he did. Now I actually told him that. I just didn't say Jeff with a J because that's weird, isn't it? I actually told him, look, honestly, I haven't rolled more than a 1 on Overwatch the entire day, so just pile in, mate. And he did, and guess what I rolled on Overwatch? 1. Yeah, no, this wasn't the big turnaround we were hoping for, lads. It was another 1 on the Overwatch there. Super great fun. So he's in combat with, oh, what was it? It was the standard orc list that we expect. So it was a commando with power claw. It was a boss knob. I can't remember what the boss knob had actually. My assumption would be big chopper because I don't remember a second power claw. That's the only thing. My assumption would be big chopper and scorcher, but I can't recall. I can't recall. Then he also had a burner, a whole load of boys. I'm pretty sure he had a big shooter at the back, and he had 3 grots. That was his list. I don't think any of them were commandos, so fair enough. Right, so he charged me with the 2 knobs, I believe. He might have managed to get a boy in. I think he got a boy in there as well, but that might have been on the next turn. So, how did that work? Yes, yes, okay. I moved my veteran up to be obscured, but could take some shots through the doorway. Because obviously I was moving first, so I couldn't charge him because he hadn't charged at that point. And then the guys on the other side was doing whatever they wanted because Jeff hadn't really put many enemy orcs on that side. I think he just had a grot and like 2 boys, 2 maybe 3 boys. No, he had a burner on that side as well, I think, but he ultimately decided to run the burner to the other side. I can't remember. Anyway, that's not really the interesting bit. The interesting bit is this big scrum we've got here. What does he do? So he fluffs the attacks. No, well that's not true. Sorry, he got the hits, but on my incinerator, but he failed to kill, failed to remove. He only got an injury. So my incinerator takes a flesh wound. I think I punched back. I want to say I didn't kill anything with the incinerator. On the next turn, I'm pretty sure I went first again, which in this instance, because okay, so vision it, lads, vision it. Okay, on the enemies, he is effectively blocked in with a horde of what must have been 6, 7 guys stuck by this one incinerator. Now that's value for money. That is exactly how you want to play Arena. It's not the most fun, but I mean, that's the way it works. That's the game, you know. So not really much more to say about that. Yeah. Okay. So what I do is my incinerator, because my incinerator's crap. I don't know if you've noticed this. This is a theme. So I actually fall back, and I fall back as far as I can, so that I'm within. Well, actually, it wasn't as far as I can. That's a lie. I fell back just enough so that he was actually wholly within just the main corridor. 2 reasons. One, because he is then blocking any enemy orcs from making a dash for the central corridor, they would have to charge him instead, and they wouldn't be able to get their base wholly within, so they wouldn't capture it for at least one turn. Oh, unless they consolidated after the kill, but let's ignore that. However, I did already have my combat guy from the other side in the corridor, so I didn't need to, but just to be safe, right? Just to be safe. And it gave me 2 models in the corridor instead of just 1. Charge in to, I think it was both the, well, it was whoever was there with my veteran, who is just a veteran, so he's getting, with falchions, who just gets 2 attacks, strength 4. Charge in and killed his boss knob. Just outright smacked him. I want to say that actually, I can't remember, but I must have put a wound on the boss knob, probably with the psychic last phase. And so I would have then psychicked again, and I think I killed him with the psychic. Yeah, that does ring a bell. And then I was like, you know what? I'm in combat with 2 guys. Oh, I think he charged in his burner at this point. Maybe that was turn 3. So anyway, I'm in combat with a boss knob with a power claw, commando knob, and a normal boy. So I'm not too scared of a normal boy because I've played as them and I never get kills. So no, they've got no AP, 3 attacks hitting on 3s, I think. So they're only hitting like 1 or 2, and then they've got no AP. So I'm statistically saving them. It's not that scary of a model, despite having 3 attack strength 4. You know. So yeah. Anyway, I smite the boss knob. He's dead. I then decide to split my 2 attacks, and I one-shot the commando knob with the power claw, like before he manages to attack me. But then the boy lived. But anyway, that's the fun over with. My veteran continued to stay there, and he could not get out of the door for the rest of the game. And I think my veteran must have killed 2 models a turn for the rest of the game. It was hugely unsatisfying. Like, as a way to win, don't get me wrong, tactically, that's brilliant. Like, that one veteran won the game. Easy. But as a game, it wasn't that fun, kind of, because he didn't do anything. He was like, oh, okay, well. Like the first turn you're held up by a model, it's like, okay, good move. Well done. Well done. But, I now have 3 huge power claw attacks into you, so you're going to die, and then we can play the game. Fine. You've just given yourself a 1-turn advantage. But if you don't get that kill, it's so demoralizing, because you can start doing the mental arithmetic and realize how screwed you are. So anyway, that was Jeff with the orcs there. And if we now... Here we go. So those were my games, everybody. Hopefully I'm going to actually timestamp this bit at 42 minutes for anyone that doesn't care about my rambling games. And here we have the... what's the word? The lists. The top tier lists. So I know that a lot of people listen to this as a podcast, so don't worry, you don't need to look at the screen. I'm going to read all of this out. Right. Okay, at the very top was Elliot. I'm not going to name all of the names. I only call Elliot out because obviously he won Adepticon. He was over here. He was playing Servants of the Abyss. Top player. There you go. Second, we had Orcs. Third, we had Harlequins with Eduardo. And I actually have his roster right here. So once I talk about general compositions of teams, I'm going to read that out. Anyway, fourth we had Death Guard. Fifth we had Tyranids. Sixth, Gelapox Infected. Seventh, Death Watch. Eighth, Death Guard. Ninth, Tyranids. 10th, a second Servants of the Abyss there. 11th, Grey Knights, and that was me. We'll talk about that in a mo. 12th, Tyranids. 13th, Genestealer Cults. 14th, Tau. 15th, Orcs. 16th, Death Watch, although misspelt to be Death Watch. Well done, GW. They had to enter all of this by hand because they don't have software that does it automatically. 17th, Orcs. Oh, Jeff with a J. I'm so sorry, Jeff. 18th, Adeptus Mechanicus. 19th, Astra Militarum. 20th, Grey Knights. 21st, Death Watch again. 22nd, Astra Militarum. 23rd, Death Guard. 24th, Gene Stealer Cults. 25th, Adeptus Mechanicus. 26th, Drukhari. 27th, Gene Stealer Cults. 28th, Grey Knights. Okay, I need a sip of water, blimey. So before we go too far, let's give a big shout out to number 19, the Astra Militarum, who he was my first game. And I didn't play any of the other Grey Knights actually. So that was a little bit meh, because that would have been quite interesting. I played Jack Edwards there, the misspelled Death Watch at 16. Uh, I think that's it from there. I didn't get to see the Tau, so I don't know what that list was, but Colin did say hello. Again, a view of the channel, so that was lovely. Guy Chapman at 13th. Who else did I play? John at 9th with the Tyranids there. Very nice. I'm surprised he's not higher, actually. I'm surprised he wasn't the top Tyranids player. Interesting. Who else? Is that everybody I played? I think that might be everyone. So, I can't remember who else I played. But, that was everyone, right? Chris, John, Jack, Guy, and Jeff. Yeah, that was everyone. Okay. Right. What do I know about these top lists? Okay, so I know that a lot of people like Tau. As I just said, guys, I didn't see the Tau list. I'm really sorry. Colin, if you're out there, mate, I know you watched the interviews. It would be awesome if you could drop what list you ran. Actually, sorry. I should have put this right at the front of the show. If I remember to edit it, hopefully I will. Purely out of interest, if anybody that attended this is watching the video, it would be really cool if you could actually drop your lists, your rosters, in the comments, just for anyone perusing by. That would be really, really awesome. Just because people are interested in that kind of thing. That would be great if you could do that. With a bit of luck, I've dug this out at 46 minutes into the video and put it right after my introduction. That'd be awesome if you could do that. Okay, so Servants of the Abyss with Elliot. Big shout out to Elliot. He obviously came over from America for this tournament. Not as weird as it sounds. He works with an airline company, so we got free flights. It was great to meet him. As obviously I've done 2 interviews with him now. After he won LVO, or he TO'd LVO, and then won Adepticon like a million times. And this was so he hadn't practiced with Servants of the Abyss before. He just theory crafted a list and went for it. My understanding was he had 2 ideas that he wanted to run with servants. One of them was 7 negavolt cultists and a psyker, and then the traitor guard as the leader. And the second list, which he said was the one he used more often, which is interesting, is 9 negavolt cultists, the 2 beastmen, and the leader, the traitor guard leader. I think he said he didn't actually use that first list, the one with the psyker, at all. He might have used it in one game. I can't quite remember. But anyway, yeah. So that's the winning Servants of the Abyss list. Very strong. For anybody that doesn't know, Negavolt cultists are crazy, and Elliot even admitted that he didn't use any of the tactics like that are specifically for Servants of the Abyss, and he actually forgot most of the special rules for the Negavolt cultists. For example, the Negavolt cultists, if you make a charge, I think it's if you make a successful charge on a 6, you deal a mortal wound. He completely forgot that rule, apparently. Or maybe he remembered it like once. But he just didn't need it, apparently. So yeah. I will point out he did draw one of his games. I don't think anybody. Yes, so in the final game, he was up again. He must have actually been second when he was playing the final game, second seed, because Ben, the player with the orcs there, was undefeated until that point. But then obviously he lost to Elliot, so Elliot won. And then also a big shout out to Elliot as we both got the train back from Warhammer World, back to London, and we had like 2.5 hours of theory crafting over what lists we wanted to run next. I'm thinking AdMech, they're interesting me. So if anyone has tips about AdMech, drop them in the list, drop them below, because I'm please help me, goddammit. And he's interested. He was thinking Gene Stealer Colts as we were on the train back, but I've spoken to him since, and apparently he's thinking Orcs now after a bit of theory crafting. So there you go. Right, the top Orc list. I'll be honest, I didn't see what he was running. However, when I did have a quick peek, there wasn't anything crazy in there, so I'm assuming it was the standard Orc list. I want to say 3 grots. Can't remember though. Don't quote me on it. But like most Orc lists, he was very boy heavy. Eduardo! With the misspelt Harlequins, we blame Games Workshop for that there. So, I actually have his roster here to hand. So a big thank you to Eduardo for handing me this. Now, I'd actually like to run some Harlequins, I've got to be honest. But I'm going to do AdMech first. Even though I already have the Harlequin models, let's not go into it. So, let's see. I'm going to be honest, I don't really know why he ran, what he ran, and when he ran it. He mentioned in Reddit that he had a core list and he'd only swap out 1 or 2 guys maybe per round, depending on what he was facing. He said he never used a Neuro Disruptor or a Fusion Pistol, which I think is the way to do it. The pistols, from what I understand, are very much a trap with Harlequins. If you're in combat for a second round, you're probably not going to fare that well. You know, you want to be ABC, always be charging. That's the way to think of it with the Harlequins. And be the one making the charge, not getting charged, obviously. So I don't know if I can really give huge amounts of benefit in reading this, but I'll do it. I'll do it. So he had 2 leaders on his roster. One had an Embrace, a Shuriken pistol, and the other had Harlequin Blade Shuriken pistol. He had 2 options. Is that what he's done? No, it's not. He had 1 veteran with an Embrace and a Shuriken pistol. Okay, basically everything has embraces. Apart from he obviously has the option with a Zealot and a Combat to take a kiss instead of an Embrace. And he does have a few bare bones guys with just Harlequin blades. That's about it, really. So I realised that wasn't the most in-depth going over of the Harlequin list. Unfortunately, I don't know exactly what he ran and when he ran it. I don't know if he was veteraning every turn or not. Don't know. It's unfortunate because Harlequins and AdMech on the train back with Elliot, I was really tossing up between which faction I wanted to run next, Harlequins or AdMech. And actually, I built like a full Harlequin roster because we had 2.5 hours with nothing to do. So I did that. But then finally, once I got back, I was actually like, oh, you know what? Actually, I'll do AdMech instead. So great. But yeah, okay. Okay. Well, a big thanks to Eduardo there. I know that Eduardo does watch the channel on occasion. Again, if you want to drop your reasoning behind anything, please do. It would be awesome if this video, which is far too long now, becomes some sort of resource almost. The comments section becomes a resource on its own right for people to go and check out. What else did we get? So Joe, hello Joe. Joe, playing Death Guard. I don't know what he ran. Can't say anything. I don't know what the #1 Tyranids player was running either. I missed that. Gellerpox Infected from Leon. Leon's watched the channel there. I don't know what he was running either. My bad. Don't forget, I was playing. Like, right. Daniel with the Death Watch. Ah, okay. So, yeah. For those of you that know Reddit, Dan, there is Redusu over on Reddit. Who he was crazy. Well, so he was the #1 elite team, but you could argue that Harlequins are elites, and I probably would. So he's the #2 elite team, really. He did well. We talked about it a lot. We both kind of came to the same conclusions on how to play Arena, but I'm going to get to that after I've done this rundown. Then we've got, you know what? Let's talk about lists I've actually saw. So I've already told you the second Tyranid players list. That was the one I went against. With it was a two-lictor list, two-lictor and a warrior. The second Servants of the Abyss guy, George. I said hi to him. I don't know what he was running actually, so I can't speak to that. I don't know what the third Tyranids guy was running. I've already gone over the Gene Stealer Cults list. Don't know what that is. Don't know Orcs. Do I know any of them? Okay, so what's interesting here is there's only 28 players, right? And kind of odd, but I didn't see half of these people, I'm sure. So, like, I only saw one other person playing Grey Knights, which was Rebecca there. I didn't see Joe at all. I didn't see any Drakari. Where were they? Oh, although saying that, I do remember seeing Sarah. Okay, for those of you that aren't watching the screen, I have their names right next to their factions, and I'm suddenly, as I try to remember it, I'm putting names to faces. I didn't see any of the Adeptus Mechanicus. Didn't see that at all. It's interesting we have such a huge variance here. If we go and look, we've got so at the top we've got Servants of the Abyss, Orcs, Harlequins, Death Guard, etc. At the bottom, we also have a Death Guard. And then 21st, so 7 from the bottom we've got a Death Watch and a Grey Knights. And then we flip back to the first at the top, we've got a Death Watch and a Grey Knights. Well, I'd hardly call myself top. I was 11th, but like I'm in the top half at least. So whether that speaks to the big variance of Grey Knights or just how important strength of schedule is or what it means exactly, I can't, who really knows? I have thoughts. Although I did suddenly remember actually what the top Tyranids guy was playing there, Alec there. He had a beautifully proxied army. He was using Bullgrins, the Ogrins for the Astrometalim, because obviously they're huge models, as big bugs. And that was really cool. Nice models. There you go. I don't know what he was actually running because they were proxied, but they were nice. They looked nice. I assume it wasn't an all big bug list, but maybe it was. I'm pretty sure Redusu played him, so I should probably ask that. Oh well. Right. Is there anything else to say about this? Oh right, so the factions that aren't on here. Necrons, Azerani, Heretic Astartes, regular Astartes, Kroot, obviously. And probably some others, but that's all that's jumping into my mind. Oh, Thousand Suns. Yeah. So, Thousand Suns were a faction that I was really genuinely considering taking. I think Thousand Suns are top tier in Arena. Not so much in regular kill team, but in Arena where you can't get your Zangers shot off before you've made it up the board. I mean, your Zangers. Okay, so the RT4 and they have a 5-up invuln, but it's still only a 5-up. If they're taking fire as they're trying to cross the board, they're gonna die. But if they only have to survive one Overwatch, you're getting charges off, and they're decent. They're decent in combat. Strength 4, 2 attacks, AP -1. That's not bad for an 8-point model. You know. And then obviously So that's the other thing there. So rubric marines with their all is dust, perfect for blocking off hallways. They're slow, so not that perfect because you've got to get there to block it, obviously. But if you can get them into position, they will, they are one of the toughest models in the game, excluding Plague Marines because they're disgustingly resilient, of course. But all this dust could be potentially very useful against the right faction. But they're not there. Why? I don't know. I mean, my kind of working theory is going to be completely contrary to what I'm about to say about why Adeptus Astartes aren't there, which is that most people take their 40k armies and think, oh, you know what, I've got enough for a kill team in this. And I guess that cross section of people that already have a 40k army and want to play kill team doesn't involve people with Thousand Suns armies. Or if it does, those people, the Thousand Suns army is actually only a minor it's the secondary army, and they'd rather play kill team with their primary army. I don't know. That's my guess. That's my guess. So Adeptus Astartes. Oh no, we'll come to them in a moment. Why no Azurani? No clue. No clue. Again, I mean, obviously Michael won with them, but they're still generally considered a low tier team. Just because the best player in the world can win with them doesn't mean they're suddenly a good team. However, having said that, I actually had a practice match against Eldar as the very final match I played, like practice match I played before going to this, and I got wrecked. They're so fast. They just spread out across the board, took everything, and then I was slowly battling them. But even if I got kills, it didn't matter. They were already, I was like trapped in my corner of the board while they'd completely spread out. Yeah, they weren't killing me, I don't think, or maybe they were, but it didn't matter. I was, yeah, and that wasn't even an optimal list the guy was running. He had two rangers, right? But yeah, so anyway, we will get to the generic stuff in a bit about like movements, etc. Okay, yeah. So that's Azurani. Heretic Astartes, don't know why they weren't there. They should be popular because of cultist spam, especially as I mean, you'd think they'd be there now because the Chaos, they've just had a big re-release for Marines in Core 40k. So yeah, I would have expected more. That's what I'm saying. But no dice. No dice. Necrons, no Necrons. So obviously, okay. So I've played Necrons relatively extensively. I'm no Chuck. I'm no Chuck, but I've played them, and I think their big issue is, well, I mean, I don't like them because of their lack of diversity. We will see what Elite does to them because that might completely change it for me. But like 5-inch move isn't great in arena. That's all I'm saying. A 5-inch move can be really quite debilitating. You kind of need you kind of need that movement, you know? Like I talked about earlier with my incinerator in my final game against Jeff with the J, I re-rolled my charge roll or my advanced roll, going from a 1 to a 3. If I'd been a 5-inch movement, he would have been able to get around me. I wouldn't have blocked him in. It's tough to say, but that is one of the. I mean, that's why the Eldar in my final practice game decimated me because obviously they all have battle focus, I think it's called, where you can advance and still fire all of your weapons, and they're 7-inch move standard. They're really fast, you know. No Adeptus Astartes. Let's talk about that. Now, the reason my thinking for there being no Thousand Suns was that Thousand Suns aren't the majority of people's prime army. So logically, Adeptus Astartes should be flooding the boards. but they're not. There were none here. Actually, I'm actually genuinely surprised there wasn't even a single Adeptus Astartes. Why? So we have to assume it's because. Okay, so look, we know that Adeptus Astartes are the #1 selling faction for Games Workshop, right? So, and especially with all of the ways to get in with First Strike, the Conquest magazine, they've just been throwing Primaris Marines at us. And all you have to do is go on eBay and you can get Primaris Marines for dirt cheap. So they're easy to get, they're cheap, they look awesome, easy-ish to paint, if you like edge highlighting. And so where are they? Where are they in Kill Team? I've got no idea, lads. So my official assumption, which completely clashes with my Thousand Suns reasoning, is that people are looking at Kill Team and saying, "Oh, I'd really like to play some Kill Team. What's good? Oh, not Adeptus Astartes. Why not? I don't know." This really has to lead into a chat about Adeptus Astartes and whether or not they're a viable Kill Team. There's a lot of chatter going on in my Discord about how to make them viable. I think one of the big issues with them is that they are very much jack of all trades, master of none. And the issue there is, I mean, if you go and look at the Adeptus Astartes war gear list, they have a lot of war gear. Like there's a lot there. And it might be intimidating. Certainly, as somebody that is, relatively okay with the rules, I look at building an Adeptus Astartes roster and think, oh god, where do I start? Right? Especially if you're really into number of models, you've got to look at scouts, right? Because they're 10 points a model, and you need models on the board. So you could, of course, run just like 10 naked scouts, but that's probably not a good idea. So, I mean, basically, because again, jack of all trades, master of none, you can get 10 models on the board, but other factions can get 10 models on the board with more killing power than you, right? You are T4, you're not baby scouts, but saves 4 up. So, not the end of the world, I suppose. But, again, kind of, yeah, you're just in the middle of nowhere with Adeptus Astartes. So then you can look at the tactical Marines. Now, the tactical Marines are scary to look at because there's so many options, man. Like, what do you take? I don't even know. Like, it's really difficult to build a roster for Adeptus Astartes, I think. I mean, obviously you can. You just have to figure out a battle plan against Hordes and against Elites and just build 2 rosters and call it a day. And that's it. So, it's entirely possible. But then maybe you want to have some Primaris in your list. And Scouts. And maybe you want to have Heavy Bolter for one and then Missile Launcher for the other. You'd actually like to always take the Missile Launcher, but it's too expensive, so you have to have the Heavy Bolter in there. And then you've got to have a Combi Plaz, haven't you? And then a Combi Melter, because you never know. And then, and it goes on and on and on. It's a tough army to build a roster for, I genuinely think. Yeah. Also, they kind of suck at close combat. Don't get me wrong, the Reaver Sergeant's acceptable, but a single strength 4 attack isn't anything to shout home about. So, fine. And that's it. Yeah, so, okay. So this has been, so far, my rundown of each of my individual games. Now we've had a rundown of the top list. The top, not, what's it called? Not a roster, not a top list. Tier lists? No. Just like the scoreboard. 1 to 28. There you go. Now we have to talk about general lessons that I learned from Arena. So the general thinking is that games going forwards are going to typically be Arena. Like Arena is the competitive format. Obviously, this was the first mission tournament pack that was Arena only, as the previous one, Adepticon, was actually regular kill team, but with secondary objectives. I believe the lead head of Nova has, well, unofficially confirmed that he's going to be running an arena tournament. We do have BAO coming up. That's soon, run by Alex, Kill Team Academy there. I believe he's running a hybrid tournament, which actually I'm all for. I think that's a really good idea, but I can't talk about the specifics on that. So we have to have some takeaways for arena games. Every person I talked to came to the same conclusion. So this is the okay. No, right. So I'll tell you the big conclusion that everybody had. The big takeaway everybody had was the person that won the game was the person that blocked the door, Hodor style. That is how you win games in Arena. As I'm building lists now, I'm not looking at, oh, how many guys can this guy kill? How many shots can this guy fire? How many attacks does this guy have? I'm looking at the guys and I'm saying, what base size is he? Is it 25 or 32 or even 40? Because that dictates how much he can block. And then I'm also looking at how many hits can he take statistically before he dies? Because that's huge. Like a single model, much like in my fifth game, can hold up the entire enemy army. And if that costs you 20 points for a more expensive model that statistically is going to live longer, that is points well spent. Because then the other 80 points of your army can run around the board and score you objectives, while that single chunk of 20 points holds the door. That's what Arena is about, and everybody I spoke to agreed. And with that in mind, that's why we take Veteran Move. Okay, so up until that point, suddenly in my head, the Veteran Move was taken as an elite team because I wanted to open a door so that I wasn't left behind for the rest of the game with 20% of my guys left behind, right? Okay. So that is not the issue. I now officially recommend that everybody take Veteran, including Horde. Doesn't matter if you're elite or Horde, you need the Veteran move. The reason for that is is so that you can open a door, yes, but the opening of the door isn't what's important. What's important is getting the first turn, decisive move if you have to. People were doing decisive moves all the time in this tournament. And after you've opened the door, what you want to do is on the maps where it can happen, advance one of your guys as close as you can to the enemy doorway and block. And you know what? If that model dies, even in that turn, that's great. You have held the enemy up for a turn. Even if you're not able to get within 1 inch of the door and attempt to block the opening of it, you can. They have if you block it so that they can't get within or around you without going within an inch of you, you're holding potentially the entire enemy team up for 1 turn. That's crazy. That's really good. It's really good. Yeah, yeah. There you go. That's my main takeaway. Let's go over quick rules that I asked while I was there. Doors. It was all about doors. Doors are not a random theoretical 2D line to capture an objective under a door. You have to open the door. It was ruled that way. My bad. It was me that pointed it out to the TOs, and they said, "Yeah, we'll rule it that way." I got the feeling they were going to rule it the other way, so I went up to them and said, blah blah blah. How do we do it? And they kind of said, "Oh, well, you just have to be within 2 inches of the objective, don't you?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, but the objective is in a door, and you can't measure through doors." And they were like, "Oh yeah, all right, yeah, you have to open the door. That's how we'll rule it for this tournament." I was like, "Okay, fine." I didn't mind. I don't care which way we play rules as long as I know which way everyone is playing the rule. They also ruled that if there is an enemy model within 1 inch of the door and you finish your movement within 1 inch, you are allowed to attempt to open the door. Now that's a little bit contentious, just because the way it's written, it's there's a comma in the middle of a sentence breaking the clause, and it can kind of be read both ways. It's not great rules writing. Um, I personally would have agreed that you can't open a door after if you're finishing the move and there's an enemy contesting, just from the way it's written. But the TOs, quite openly said, look, we're ruling it this way. No, so they said, look, it's a poorly written rule, and we have decided that for this tournament, we are ruling it in a way that will hopefully allow you to play quicker games. Because you've only got 4 rounds, and so if we blocked you from, you know, opening the door on that movement turn, that's a whole round lost, and that's huge in this game, and it is. And I actually think that the way they've ruled it is correct, not as it's written in the rulebook, but as intent, or at least for smoother gameplay, it should be the way they ruled it, where you can make the attempt. Obviously, the enemy can still deny if they wish, but you can make the attempt. And that was it. That was all for the rules, and we've been going an hour and 20 minutes now. Was there anything else? I did take some pictures. We've seen that. We've seen that. Okay. This is the rather drab looking. Yes, that's right. We're doing a slideshow. Right? Get me off the second monitor and look at this. God damn it. You really don't have to. This is not going to be interesting. Right. The Imperial Aquila and Sigmar's hammer. Obviously, as some of you probably know, they have they've just released like the Hammer and Eagle new logo. They haven't updated yet. I took a picture of that book because I wanted to read it, but I don't like paperback. I like Kindle, so that's a little reminder for myself there. We've seen that. We've seen that. We've seen that. Oh, so this is a lovely little painting thing. Uh, as some of you may know, I did a little what your washes will look like when applied to a miniature. They had a similar thing here. So these are the glazes and the technicals and the gemstones when applied just straight over Leadbelcher. There you go. So the reason I'm showing this is because I am going to be using this soon for when I paint my next army. So yes, cool. Ah yes, this is the infamous Tank and Space Marine. Now, I know that in the game, they've gone through years of new models, and every few years they kind of up the scale a little bit, don't they? It's good to see that they pay just as much attention in real life to the scale of models as they do in the game. That Space Marine would only just fit in that Rhino if it was lying down flat. So, yeah. Oh, souvenir coins. You can only get these at Warhammer World. But they're really cool looking. There you go. That's what they look like. There's one for Chaos, one for the Imperium. The Chaos one says "Let the galaxy burn," and the Imperial one says "Honor thy Emperor, honor thy chapter." And then on the rear side, one says "One Imperial credit," which is very cool. It also says Games Workshop Limited 2017. Slightly less immersion building there. And then the Chaos one has some cryptic runes all around it. Lovely. Oh, that's some sexy looking Sigmarine there. Oh, and behind that there's a bug. Oh, there's a statue of a. Yeah, my bad. Oh, and these are my business cards that I gave out to people that said hello to me. Because I was excited. So look, I got Glass Half Dead printed on my shirt, and I got some cool looking business cards printed off. They feel very smooth and matte. It's nice. Yeah. Mainly for myself. I'm aware that people don't like business cards, but there you go. And that's it. Well, everybody, this has been an hour and 20 minutes of just me. I hope that you've enjoyed painting, because I can only assume that anybody that has stayed here for this long has not been paying attention and has instead been painting. I hope that you've liked my little rundown of the Warhammer World Tournament. Oh, I suppose a quick passing note, there was supposed to be a Warhammer World Doubles Kill Team event on the Saturday, the day before the tournament I went to. However, it got cancelled because they only sold 12 tickets. And of course, in a doubles tournament, that means there would have been 3 games going on at once. Pretty terrible. Also, side note, that would have been so for the doubles you had to pay £35. That's not per team, that's per person, which makes no sense. Don't know why they decided to do that. Whereas for the singles, it was £30 per person. I really don't know what they were thinking with that. Like, mind-boggling. What? Why? Um. So anyway, that got cancelled. Oh, prize support. Yes. So the top few players. Oh, my bad. Michael Appleton, uh, the Death Guard player there. I also met him and talked to him a lot. And the reason I mention that now uh, is because Michael there won the favourite game. So he was like the favourite player. There were 5 people that got 4 favourite game votes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 people that got 4 favourite game votes. But then it was ultimately decided by who was actually the best player as well. So who got the highest rank, and Michael did there. He was a cool guy. We hung out as well. That was nice. Um, Although I never played him. In fact, I didn't play any of the people. Oh yeah, I did Jack. Anyway, I'm gonna stop rambling and try and get to the end. Yep, so the doubles was cancelled. The prize support was the top players, the top 3, and then the favourite player, and also the best painted, all got a poster and a slab of glass. Yeah, I don't like. So you know how they do like the Shadespire glass? I don't know if you've seen that. The Shadespire like have a cool like shard of wraith glass or whatever it's called, similar to that, but it's just a slab of glass. Like there's no cool shape to it. Odd choice, I would probably say. Odd choice, but and that was it. That was all for the prize support. It was better than a certificate. So good job, G Dubs there. Still terrible compared to Adepticon, especially for £30 entrance. Okay, we did get lunch. We did get lunch, and let's say that was a tenner. Although that lunch was not a tenner, let me tell you that. So, let's say 20 quid entrance. When you compare it to Adepticon, where they got a cool medal and a mat, that was $15. And you only had to play 3 games. And you had the potential to play 5 pods throughout the entire weekend. So, I'm just saying, there was a much higher chance of winning there. Anyway, I think I'm done, guys. I've rambled far too long. I hope you've enjoyed your painting. I hope you got some cool stuff painted. This has been Glass Half Dead. I'm really tired now. I hope I get this up for tomorrow. I hope you've all had a great day. I hope you've all had a great painting. Talk to you later.